Welcome to the Deep Dive. We dig into complex sources to pull out those nuggets of knowledge you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, and today we have a really interesting one.
Definitely. We're tackling a question that honestly sounds a bit absurd at first glance. Is a taco a sandwich?
It sounds like, a late-night dorm room debate.
Right. But legally,
Huh?
this is a huge point of contention. We're talking serious court battles.
Absolutely. It's got everything. Commercial zoning fights, deep dives into dictionary definitions, contract law, even clashing legal philosophies, all triggered by, well, a taco.
So our mission today is to unpack a stack of legal documents, mainly focusing on this pretty groundbreaking 2024 Indiana court ruling that actually forced an answer.
We want to understand how all these things, zoning rules, contract language, maybe even just plain old common sense, collide in a courtroom.
Exactly. So let's start this deep dive right there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's where it all kicked off.
Right. Fort Wayne, this is where you have a commercial developer, a guy named Martin Quintana, up against the Covington Creek Condominium Association.
Okay, so a classic developer versus resident setup.
Pretty much. Back in 2019, Quintana wanted to rezone his land. He was going from R1, which is single-family residential,
To C2, limited commercial.
exactly. And, as you'd expect when commercial development bumps up against homes, the residents weren't thrilled. The sources call them remonstrators.
Huh, okay. So they protested.
They did. And to smooth things over, to get the plan commission's okay, Quintana agreed to this thing called a written commitment. Basically, a set of strict promises.
What did it promise?
Mm.
Or restrict?
Well, it was designed to keep out typical high-traffic businesses, especially fast food. It banned all restaurants except for one very specific type.
Which was?
And I'm quoting here from the commitment, section 1.2.1. A sandwich bar-style restaurant whose primary business is to sell made-to-order or Subway-style sandwiches.
Subway style. Okay, that seems pretty clear. They even gave examples, right?
They did, which is crucial. It explicitly included places like Subway or Jimmy John's, but just as explicitly excluded your traditional fast food chains, McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's.
So the focus was really on that assembly line style made in front of you thing, and definitely not drive-throughs.
Precisely. And they added other limits, too. No outdoor seating, absolutely no drive-through, and no selling alcohol. They're really trying to lock down the type of operation.
Okay, seemed buttoned up. But then, tacos happened.
Then tacos happened. Fast forward 3 years to 2022. Quintana announces his plan. He's opening the famous taco in his new strip mall.
And the condo association cried foul.
Immediately, they said, hold on, that violates the commitment. A taco place isn't a Subway-style sandwich bar.
So deadlock.
Well, interestingly, Quintana and the association actually tried to fix it contractually. They worked together and drafted an amendment to the commitment.
Okay.
This amendment specifically named the famous taco and said, okay, this specific business is allowed.
Yep.
Seemed like a practical solution.
There's always a but.
But the Fort Wayne Plan Commission shot it down. They denied the amendment.
Why? If both parties agreed, was it just about the taco?
Not entirely, no. It was messier than that. The commission had wider concerns. There was apparently a history there.
Like what?
Well, the sources mentioned the commission had long-standing planning issues with the development. And there was even an admission from Quintana that the original building shell, well, it was built in the residential zone before he had the proper permits.
Oof. Okay, that complicates things.
It does. And the commission also argued, look, our job is to approve general uses like the category sandwich bar, not to approve specific company brands like Famous Taco. They felt picking winners and losers by name wasn't proper zoning procedure. Bad precedent.
So Quintana was stuck. The amendment failed. The association still objected based on the original agreement. What next?
He took it to court, sought judicial review of the Plan Commission's denial, and that landed it in front of Allen Superior Judge Craig J. Bobay.
And Judge Bobay's ruling in May 2024 is where things get really interesting.
Extremely. He delivered this two-part decision. It was quite nuanced.
Okay, break it down for us. Part one.
Part one. He actually sided with the Plan Commission on the amendment denial. He said, yeah, the commission was within its rights to deny the amendment based on those procedural concerns like not wanting to regulate specific brands.
Okay, but wait. If the amendment allowing Famous Taco was denied, how did the restaurant move forward? Why are we even talking about whether a taco is a sandwich?
Because that leads us to the second and honestly much more explosive part of his ruling.
Go on.
The judge said the amendment, while denied permissibly, was actually unnecessary anyway.
Unnecessary. Why?
Because, Judge Bobay concluded, The famous taco was already allowed under the original 2019 written commitment.
Whoa, so he's saying a taco restaurant is a sandwich bar-style restaurant whose primary business is to sell made-to-order or Subway-style sandwiches.
That's exactly what he ruled. He agreed with Quintana's argument. Tacos and burritos are Mexican-style sandwiches.
Mexican-style sandwiches, that's the key phrase. How did he justify that? Did he just ignore the Subway Jimmy John's examples?
Not ignore, but interpret. His reasoning was fascinating. He pointed out the commitment just said sandwich bar style. It didn't say, and this is his emphasis, only American cuisine style sandwiches.
Ah, so he focused on the style, the made-to-order assembly, rather than, say, the bread.
Precisely. He looked at the function, the method of preparation and service. Is it made to order? Is it like an assembly line? Is there a filling inside some kind of, carbohydrate wrapper? If yes, then it fits the style, regardless of the specific cuisine.
That's a broad interpretation.
Incredibly broad. And he didn't stop there. He explicitly stated that based on this logic, the original commitment would also permit restaurants serving made-to-order Greek gyros, Indian naan wraps, or Vietnamese banh mi.
Wow. Gyros, naan wraps, banh mi, all potentially allowed under a Subway-style sandwich clause, as long as they met the other conditions, like no drive-through.
Exactly. As long as they fit that functional description made to order, filling inside a wrapper, they could potentially qualify as a type of sandwich under the commitment's language.
So this idea of functional equivalence is really the heart of the Indiana ruling.
It is. And it stands in pretty stark contrast to how other courts have tackled this.
Right. This wasn't the first time courts had to wrestle with sandwich definitions, was it? There's a famous case from Massachusetts.
Oh yeah, the big one. Back in 2006, White Shopping Center, LPV, VPR Restaurants, LLC.
And that involved Panera Bread, I think?
That's the one. Panera, operated by PR Restaurants, had a lease with a restrictive covenant. Basically, the landlord couldn't lease nearby space to another business whose main thing was selling sandwiches, protecting Panera's turf.
Okay, standard stuff. So who tried to move in?
Qdoba, the Mexican chain. And Panera sued the landlord.
Arguing what? That Qdoba's burritos and tacos counted as sandwiches.
Exactly. Panera argued, hey, tacos, burritos, quesadillas, under the terms of our lease, those are sandwiches. You can't let them in.
And a Massachusetts court said?
Absolutely not. Complete opposite of the Indiana outcome. The MA court went straight to the dictionary, Webster's.
Which defines a sandwich how?
Pretty strictly. 2 thin slices of bread with a filling spread between them.
Okay, yeah. Tacos and burritos definitely don't fit that.
Nope. And the court also leaned heavily on what it called common sense, basically saying, come on, nobody really calls a taco a sandwich in everyday life. So Qdoba was allowed.
So you have Indiana focusing on function and style, and Massachusetts focusing on dictionary definitions and common sense. Polar opposites.
Completely. And that Massachusetts ruling, relying on the dictionary, actually sparked a bit of a debate among legal heavyweights.
Oh, like who?
Well, the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, for one, he was a huge proponent of textualism, interpreting laws and contracts based on the ordinary meaning of the words.
And he liked the Massachusetts ruling.
Loved it. He wrote about it in his book, Reading the Law. He praised the court for sticking to the common dictionary definition. Scalia argued essentially that no reasonable speaker of English would call a taco, a burrito, or a quesadilla a sandwich. End of story.
Stick to the text. Simple.
Seems simple. But then you had Judge Richard Posner, another incredibly influential legal mind who challenged Scalia on this very point.
What was Posner's take?
Posner pointed out the practical flaws in relying too rigidly on that dictionary definition.
How so?
Well, think about it. That 2 thin slices of bread definition, what does it do with a club sandwich? That's 3 slices.
Huh, good point.
Or an open-faced sandwich, only 1 slice. Or the big one, a hamburger, that's a bun, not slices. Are none of those sandwiches according to Webster's?
Yeah, the dictionary definition kind of breaks down fast.
Right. Posner's argument was more about contextualism. He felt the parties understanding what they likely meant when they wrote sandwich in their contract should matter more than a dictionary definition that doesn't even capture common usage accurately. Intent over rigid text.
So a real philosophical split there. Function versus text versus intent. But wait, there was another weird case, right? Something about hamburgers in Michigan.
Yes, the hamburger curveball. That was Hobwin, Inc. v. Sisbro Management, LLC from 2012.
Okay, what happened there?
You had Wendy's trying to block a Taco Bell from opening nearby?
Based on what restriction? Surely not sandwiches.
No. This time the lease restriction was against selling hamburger products.
Hamburger products. Okay, well, A Taco Bell taco definitely isn't a hamburger. Seems open and shut.
You'd think. But the Michigan court disagreed.
How on earth?
They ruled that the term hamburger products wasn't limited to just, patty on a bun hamburgers. They interpreted it more broadly to mean ground beef items that are produced or made.
Seriously. So, because Taco Bell uses ground beef in its tacos.
The court said Taco Bell tacos were hamburger products under that lease language, and Wendy's could block them.
Wow. That just shows how vague language can be twisted, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It highlights the danger of using generic terms like hamburger products or even sandwich without being incredibly specific about what you mean to include or exclude. The court might just latch onto one component, like ground beef, and run with it in a way you never intended.
Okay, so we've journeyed from Fort Wayne's zoning fight through Indiana's Mexican-style sandwich, contrasted it with Massachusetts' common sense, touched on Scalia and Posner, and landed on Michigan's ground beef theory.
It's quite the trip.
So let's try to synthesize this. What's the big takeaway for, anyone listening who might actually have to write or sign a lease, a contract, a policy with restrictive language?
I think the flashing red light from all these cases is the absolute peril of ambiguity, especially when defining commercial uses.
Right. Your success or failure could literally hinge on whether a judge decided to go with common sense and dictionary definitions like in Massachusetts.
Or with functional equivalence and inferred intent, like in Indiana. Or even an ingredient-based definition, like in Michigan. You just don't know how a court will interpret vague terms.
The Indiana case really drives home that if you use an example like Subway style, a court might totally ignore the cuisine implied by the example and focus only on the method.
Exactly. They see made-to-order assembly line, and suddenly gyros and banh mi are on the table because they functionally fit that description, even if linguistically it feels wrong.
So the lesson is, be specific. Annoyingly specific, maybe.
Yes, specificity is your best friend. If you want to exclude certain things, cuisines, brands, preparation methods, ingredients, you have to spell them out. Don't rely on a general term like sandwich or hamburger product to do the work for you.
Because if you don't define it clearly,
the court will define it for you. And as the source material warns, you might end up with judges deciding that, yeah, a wrap is a burrito, a smoothie is a shake, and a dish of pasta is a bowl of ramen.
the interpretations can get really creative and counterintuitive if the language leaves room for it.
You basically have to write the contract assuming someone is actively looking for loopholes.
That's the mindset. Right for the adversary, not just for the person nodding along with you.
It's pretty amazing, though. We started with a local zoning tiff in Indiana and ended up deep in legal philosophy, debating textualism versus contextualism through the lens of a taco. It shows how fundamental these interpretation issues are and how they can pop up in the most unexpected places. It really boils down to what matters more, the literal words on the page or the likely purpose behind them.
Which brings me to a final thought, something for you to chew on, maybe. The original Fort Wayne commitment, the one Quintana signed, its clear purpose was to keep out traditional fast food, right? The high traffic, the noise, the drive-thrus associated with McDonald's or Arby's.
That seems to be the spirit of it.
So if Judge Bobet's ruling that famous taco is a Mexican-style sandwich allows a restaurant that does follow all those operational rules,
Yeah.
made to order, no drive-thru, etc., did his ruling, in a weird way, actually uphold the original spirit of the agreement, even while kind of breaking our common understanding of the word sandwich?
That's a fantastic question. Did the functional outcome honor the intent, even if the linguistic reasoning seems, well, odd? Justice versus language. Something to ponder.
Definitely something to ponder.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep digging deeper.